I explained the ACT is like the big picture. That's like the GPS that informs the navigation, all right? So it sounds really technical. We got acronyms, these different letters that mean different things. But if you've ever heard of like Army leadership is be, know, do, pretty much the same as ACT. Okay, so know would be awareness. Phones. Is everyone's phone?
Yeah, mine's off.
Everyone's phone's off. Mine's not. Good job.
Do as you say, not as you do.
Yeah. This girl I used to date went and saw a psychic today, and my name came up. So she's like,
Loading up.
it's weird. It's kind of cool. Like, I want to hear what the psychic said, but at the same time, it's like,
You are the future.
what?
Yeah, that could go either
You
way.
are the future.
In the future, yeah, it could be bad or good. Okay, so be, know, do. So be would be thrust. Okay, T. And then do obviously is control. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is mix basically four things. Getting more comfortable expressing your emotions. So pushing past where you're comfortable now. All right. There's a hesitation, there's a fear, there's a resistance to express what's actually going on in here, because you're afraid that you might get judged critically, people won't like you. What we really want to do is banish approval seeking as much as possible. All right. So there's going to be that, raising your emotional threshold, your comfort threshold. All right. The second thing is building social awareness. So subtle cues that you might not pick up on your own. I'm going to be pointing things out. We're going to do exercises to kind of heighten your awareness, noticing little cues, micro facial expressions, and kind of where people are looking. All those little things that you can't really get in a book, right? So DNA is basically ATGC. There's 4 of them. Very similar, only here we have actually 6. So I want to habituate this. As long as you're here, you're good. All right? You can't foobar. All right? You know what that means? So it's as long as you're here, you're good. You can't really fuck it up. This is where you fuck it up. So we want to habituate this. Just make this as automatic as possible. And then I'm also going to touch on some just standard default tactics that you really need to get down. If you get these things down, your dating life will just improve a lot. It's a good way to get a number. And there's a mindset behind that. So when you try to get it, guys talk about getting her number, like that's some sort of accomplishment. Like you just, you got something, you won a prize, right? You didn't get anything. What actually is happening is you're offering your time because you like this person. So when you think about it like that, you can still say, what's your number? Or let's exchange numbers, or hey, give me your number. But the tonality, the eyes, the subtle cues are going to be different. The difference between saying, let me get your number, versus let's exchange numbers. Almost, it's untrained eye, you wouldn't notice a difference. But in my head, the first one I'm saying, can I please get something from you? The second one I'm saying, I'm willing to give you some of my time because I like you, okay? Because I feel like you have potential. So the frame is different. Now, how does it play out subtly? Almost sounded like I was saying. I was saying pretty much the same thing. Tonality was just a little different. Okay, those subtleties make a big difference, and it all comes from here. Okay, and this is what you're doing in here, right? Okay, so I-PACE. I will write this down, and then I'm going to erase it because I want us to memorize it. I stands for internal locus of control. Internal locus of control is probably the closest psychological construct. And what a psychological construct is, we can't see it directly, right? So we kind of have we think it's probably there. If we test it enough, there's enough people kind of testing for this kind of thing. We can say it's a construct. So internal locus of control is most closely linked to high social status, happiness in life, self-efficacy. All these things are related. Basically, internal locus of control says, I believe myself more than other people. I look to myself for guidance rather than looking to others for guidance. The interesting thing about someone with a high level of internal locus of control is they do learn a lot and they read a lot and they get guidance from other sources, but there's this process where they take it in, marinate, and say what resonates with me, what's true for me, rather than just jumping on fads or believing what other people tell them, all right? So that's how that plays out in your mind. I also stands for intention. So when I did the little example with the number thing, the first example, I'm essentially trying to get sex from this woman. In the second example, I'm offering my time. Okay? That shift in intention, where it's no longer me trying to get, but rather giving or offering, that makes a huge difference. So it also stands for intention. And easy way to remember it is just I do this. Think about like a one-way street, not a two-way street. So a lot of times people will be nice to somebody hoping to get something back. I want to be nice to you because I want you to feel good, period. I don't need anything back. The more you can do that, number one, the more people will see you as an authority. So your compliments, your approval, your attention is more valuable, it means more. If you think about, what's a good example of that? If you meet like a guy who's more wealthy, more successful than you, and he says, he gives you a compliment on your shoes. He says, oh, I like those shoes, man. Those look good. You're going to believe that more. You're going to value that compliment more because he doesn't need anything from you. He's doing better than you, right? He could get more expensive shoes than you or whatever. So versus someone who maybe, I'm thinking of a guy right now who, bit of a taker, and seems like he feels like there's things he can get from me. So, when he gives me a compliment, I'm like, okay, I just don't really believe it. I get suspicious. Well, obviously, I'm sure you guys can relate, like guys giving you compliments to get something, right? Mm-hmm. So the intention is important. And if you just think about I-P-A-C-E. Okay, I do this. I don't give a fuck what you do back. I don't need anything back from you. This is what I'm doing. Does that all make sense? Any questions? Focalities. So we talked about modality of focus. Colors, things in a room you like. These are all focalities, all right? So first focality is protection, all right? Appreciation. This is appreciation potential. I've had people call it conditional, or you could also call it challenge. This is the interesting one. This is the one that's subtle, that can be hard to understand. And then curiosity. I did the British spelling for you. All right. Okay. Protection. Appreciation potential. Think about this as like when you read a contract, there's an asterisk. That's sort of like if you see like a car ad and it says whatever down, no interest, and then there's an asterisk, and then there's like the fine print. Basically, that's what this asterisk means. there's a condition there, right? Curiosity, expression. So we all know what protection means. For me personally, you know, when we think about being physical with a woman, touching a woman, there's the old cliche of like, you know, you're in the theater and you yawn and try to put your arm around. There's this kind of sense of, how do I get physical? How do I get a touch? As if that's an achievement or accomplishment. For me, initially, the reason why I'm going to touch a woman is not a protection. It's to protect her. Okay? So this could be, like we were at a club last night. I was talking to a woman, and I just, the first way I touched her, after we shook hands, the first way I touched her was I actually moved her because the dance floor, people were bumping into each other, and it was getting a little bumpy and rowdy there. So I just gently moved her over here close to where our table was. So that's protection, right? Appreciation. This is saying, I like you, I'm grateful for you, I'm glad you're here, I'm enjoying your company, right? I appreciate you. I'll skip this for now. Curiosity. This is essentially questions, being curious about the other person. Curiosity is huge because, first of all, when you're genuinely curious about a woman as a human being, first of all, they can tell, but also, instead of trying to think, what should I say next, just the idea is, well, what does she want to hear? What's going to make her, what's going to impress her, make her like me? Just ask questions, just find out, instead of like preempting. So I gave the example yesterday of the guy talking about how he forgot his platinum card at his other house, you know, assuming that this girl cared about that. You know, if he had just asked her, he would have found out that she likes working with kids. She likes to dance. She's feeling frustrated because she's still living at home. You know, all these things that are about her rather than chicks, right? The concept of chicks. We all have this idea that we've seen in movies. Just individual person, fucking ask, learn about her.
Got that Mickey Mouse.
And then expression is talking about yourself. It's going to be statements, but more so, I would say expression is probably the most difficult to do. This is the most difficult to understand. Expression, this is being yourself. But, you know, we always hear, you know, you know, I haven't met the right person, I'm struggling with, you know, both genders say it, right? And then the common advice is, well, just be yourself. Just be yourself and the right person will come along. Well, the problem with that is yourself. There's two selves. There's the ego, which is fear-based. You're going to try to protect that as much as possible. So one thing I want to drill today is like getting rid of an identity. So I'm going to do a lot of weird stuff where we're fractionating to the point where hopefully there's no identity. You're not trying to protect your identity anymore. I'm just going to get so ridiculous that it's like, who am I really? Who knows? Just don't even think about it, right? And that's when you're being yourself. So self in the Jungian sense, Carl Jung, is not ego, but rather the consciousness behind your thoughts, basically. And how's that going to manifest? Through your hands, your body, your voice tone, your life experiences. It's going to be unique to you. So if you're trying to emulate someone else, or you're reading something and there's like, you know, lines to say or some sort of routine or script, first of all, it's going to be very difficult to have a conversation that's scripted. That's not how reality actually works. But also, what turns women on the most obviously being desired fundamentally on a sexual level. But when they can sense that a guy is really being himself, there's no ego, there's no protection. Okay, so there's no bragging, there's no hiding, right? As we can, it's sort of like a middle way. So you're not attacking, you're not hiding, you're not presenting an identity, you're not hiding, things you want to say, things you want to do. This is coupled with awareness. Obviously, we want to function in society, so we can't just like run around naked and say whatever we want. Be nice, but this is something that this never ends. This is something you're always developing. This is why it can be very difficult. I grew up with a couple guys who were just naturally very good with women. They, players or whatever you want to call it. But even my mom, like my buddy Darren, like he would like come over and like talk to my mom, and she would like, "Hey Darren," and I would get mad. I'd be like, "No, Mom, no." But he wouldn't even try. He'd be like, "Oh, hey, Mrs. Penn, what's going on?" And she'd be like, "Oh, hi, Darren." Wasn't a good-looking guy. A little taller than me, but, it wasn't a good-looking guy. A little chubby, had glasses, but a couple things. Number one, Darren did not care what other people thought of him. Darren had already decided that he liked himself, and that was it. And the other thing was, Darren, from an early age, knew how sexual women actually are. So the game, the facade, he didn't see the facade, he saw the truth that he had known since he was probably like 12, 13. I could see him flirting with my mom, right? I could see this and be like, what the fuck is he doing? What's going on there? Well, it's not what he was doing, it's what he wasn't doing. And that's why it can be very difficult to sort of figure out, like, why is this not working for me? Why does this guy say this and it works for him, but if I say that, it just kind of falls flat or doesn't seem to get any effect. The guy's being himself more than relative to all the other men. Okay, so his expression is way more authentic, less censored. So think about women responding to a unique experience, or a term I like to use is, insert your name, but, the Brian experience, the Neil experience, the Eric experience. So don't try to do it right. Don't try to do what women, right, this concept that we get from TV and dating advice, women like this and that. What they want is the Brian experience. And it might not necessarily work out. We might not have chemistry, and that's okay. But what you're going to do is optimize the potential for connections. So you meet 20 women, connect with 2 or 3. It's pretty good, actually. Okay, and that's going to come from this. So this is you basically all this is you not using deception, not worrying about whether or not you're good enough. When you get rid of that, this is what's left, and this is as sexy as you can get, right? This is the last thing that I'm gonna talk about, and then we're gonna actually get off our asses and move around a little bit. This is teasing for the most part. This is gonna be flirting. I don't really like that word actually because it's got a lot of connotations. But this is gonna be joking around, teasing. Last night when the girl called me Mr. Moneybags, that's when I said that's disrespectful. Not pay for your drink. I'm not here to buy your food. You know what I mean? So that's what I did right there. So in the rare occasions where you're being disrespected, you let them know, okay, just like you would with anybody. I think guys a lot of times are scared to do that because they want sex so bad, right? So you let them know that they're being disrespectful. That's one way that this is going to play out, but that's way less frequent than teasing. And teasing, especially for guys who tend to be introverted, shy, serious, analytical, teasing can be hard. It can be difficult, all right? Essentially what teasing is saying, when you're teasing someone, what you're saying is, you got potential. I like you, but I'm not so sure about what you just said. And it's really powerful because what you're actually saying is, I believe in our connection so much that I can say that we don't have one. I appreciate you so much, or I'm actually enjoying my time with you so much that I trust that you sense it too, and so I can say that it's not there. Okay? I can insult you a little bit because I believe that it's almost like it's affirming and taking that next step. So what do you do with somebody who's like a really good friend? You know we're friends. Like we both understand we're good friends. Nothing's really going to split us apart. Then that's when you start talking shit to each other, right? So that's what this is. And a lot of times women will try to do this with a guy, like early on, like try to tease him, mess with him, because she wants to play. She just wants to joke around. Like, you know, being serious and deep is cool, but ultimately, like, we want to be friends. And that's where we're going, is friendship. We want to be friends with women. And this is what you do with friends, you tease, okay? And if a friend is disrespectful, you say, you know, don't call me Mr. Moneybags. You know what I mean? This girl called me Mr. Moneybag last night because she ordered some shots, and then the bartender came up and she's like, I barely knew this girl. She's like, Moneybags has it. I was like, all right.
Kind of a compliment, an insult.
No, it was because I was like, what did you say? She's like, nothing. Yeah. So,